My daughter looked me in the eye and said, Brad's mother needs this house more than you do. So, I packed my bags and left. But what happened next? Karma has a way of keeping score. Stay with me as I tell you what happened, and please support the channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing it with everyone you know. Your support means everything to us. Now, let me take you back to that cold February evening in Portland, Oregon. I was scrubbing the last dish in the sink when Emma walked in, her arms folded like a shield. Her eyes had a coldness I'd never seen before, not even during her rebellious teenage years when she'd slam doors and scream that she hated me. This was my daughter, my only child, the little girl I raised alone after her father left us when she was barely 7. But there in my kitchen, she looked at me like a stranger who'd wronged her. Mom, we need to have a serious conversation, she said, her voice flat and businesslike, like a landlord talking to a tenant. I dried my hands on the faded blue towel and turned to face her, trying to read her expression. Maybe she had found steady work again. Maybe she wanted to thank me for covering their mortgage payments for the past 8 months when she and Brad fell behind. Maybe Brad's construction job was going better than expected. Of course, sweetheart, I said softly, searching her face for warmth. What's going on? But Emma didn't smile. She didn't even blink before the words spilled out. Brad's mom is going through a terrible divorce. She needs a safe and stable place to rebuild her life. This house is perfect for her. I nodded slowly, confused but willing. The guest room has plenty of space. I'd be happy to help her get back on her feet. Emma shook her head sharply, her perfectly straightened blonde hair catching the overhead light. No, Mom, you don't understand. She needs the entire house. You'll have to find somewhere else to live. The words struck me like a physical blow. For a moment, I thought I'd misheard. Find somewhere else. Emma, this is my home. I've lived here for 32 years. Not anymore, she replied with a casual shrug, as if we were talking about the weather. Look, you're getting older. You don't really need all this space anymore. Brad's mom has been through hell with her divorce. She deserves a fresh start in a nice home like this. I gripped the edge of the countertop, feeling my knees threaten to buckle. Emma, you cannot be serious about this. That's when she smiled, but it wasn't the warm, loving smile I remembered from her childhood. This smile was cold, calculated, and completely different from the daughter I raised with care and sacrifice. I'm serious, Mom. You can stay with Aunt Ruth in Seattle, or find a nice apartment somewhere. Brad's mom will take great care of this place, I promise. My throat felt like sandpaper as I struggled to process. Why? I managed to whisper. Because this is what family does, for one another, she said, her voice dripping with a sweetness that turned my stomach. We make sacrifices for the people we love. Besides, you've had your time living in this beautiful house. Now it's time to think about the next generation. Brad appeared in the doorway, his work boots muddy, that arrogant smirk I had grown to despise on his unshaven face. Is she giving you trouble about this? He asked Emma, ignoring me completely. A little resistance, Emma replied, examining her nails like they were far more interesting. But she come around and do the right thing, won't you, Mom? I stared at them, my own daughter, and the man who convinced her I was disposable. The silence felt like a deep chasm growing wider by the second. Brad checked his phone impatiently. My mom's already started packing. She can be here by this weekend if we settle this today. Their casual cruelty took my breath away. They'd made all the arrangements without even consulting me. In their minds, I was just an obstacle to be removed. Fine, I said quietly, the words scraping my throat. Raw, Emma's eyebrows shot up in surprise. She clearly expected tears, perhaps desperate begging, certainly more drama than this quiet surrender. Brad looked disappointed that I wasn't putting up more of a fight. Smart choice, he said, scrolling through his messages. This will work out better for everyone. I walked past them, each step feeling like moving through thick mud. As I climbed toward my bedroom, Emma's voice floated up the stairs. Make sure you're out by Friday morning. We want the place spotless for Janet. Friday, after 3 decades of mortgage payments, of Christmas mornings filled with laughter, of birthday celebrations and scraped knees, I had exactly 4 days to erase myself from the home I built with my own hands. I reached my bedroom and closed the door, letting the silence wrap around me like a blanket. The queen-sized bed my late husband and I picked out during our 20th anniversary sat unmade. The walls still held echoes of Emma's childhood, her first steps, bedtime stories, teenage phone conversations. My legs gave out completely, and I sank onto the mattress, pressing my palms into my thighs until my knuckles turned white. Screaming would have been easy. Begging might have been easier still. Instead, I forced myself to stand and walk to the closet where my old brown leather suitcase waited on the top shelf. My fingers trembled as I opened dresser drawers, folding clothes that still held the faint scent of lavender sachets I made last spring when life still made sense. Each folded shirt felt like packing away parts of my identity. When I picked up the silver-framed photograph from Emma's college graduation, I froze. Her arms were wrapped around my neck, both of us grinning like the world couldn't hurt us. Her whispered, "Thank you for everything," Mom, echoed in my memory from that proud day. Downstairs, Emma's cheerful voice drifted up through the floorboards. "Yes, Janet, everything's settled perfectly. The house is just right for your fresh start." Mom's completely on board and excited to help out. Excited, the word burned through my chest like acid, leaving me breathless with the cruelty of the lie. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. A text from my sister Ruth in Seattle. "Haven't heard from you in weeks. How's my favorite little sister doing?" I stared at the screen, unable to answer. How do you tell someone your child, the person you sacrificed everything for, just discarded you like trash? I continued packing, shoving my belongings into the suitcase without folding them. My wedding ring caught the light as I worked, reminding me of promises kept, of a love lasting until death parted us. What would my husband say if he could see his daughter treating me this way? More laughter echoed from downstairs, Emma's sharp giggle, mixing with Brad's deeper chuckles. "Don't worry about Mom," I heard Emma say. "She'll land on her feet somehow. She always figures things out. Always figures out." As if rebuilding a life at 63 years old was as simple as rearranging furniture. The next morning arrived gray and drizzling, typical February weather in Portland. I loaded my few possessions into the back of my old Honda Civic while Emma watched from the living room window, coffee mug in hand, ensuring I followed through on my promise to leave. I sat behind the steering wheel for several long minutes, staring at the house that had been my sanctuary for over 30 years. The red brick, the white trim, I'd repainted just last summer. The rose bushes I planted for my husband's passing, everything looked different, like it was already forgetting I ever lived there. They thought this was the end of my story. They thought they'd completely won. They were wrong about that. My phone rang, and seeing the caller ID made me smile for the first time in days. Patricia Walsh, attorney at law. 3 months earlier, when Brad started asking pointed questions about my will and estate planning, and Emma made casual comments about updating the family's finances, something deep inside me screamed warnings. Call it mother's intuition. I scheduled a meeting with Patricia to protect myself. Together, we set up the Margaret Sullivan Family Trust. On paper, I no longer owned my house, the trust did. I was the sole trustee with control over trust assets. It was legal, airtight, and invisible to anyone who wasn't specifically looking. "Sarah, honey, how are you holding up?" Patricia's warm voice filled the car. "They actually did it," I said, my voice steady. "Threw me out so his mother could move in." Patricia's pause was telling. When she spoke again, there was steel in her voice. "Well, that's going to be really inconvenient for them. I'll have the eviction papers served first thing tomorrow." Eviction papers, they're unlawfully occupying trust property without permission from the trustee. That's you. They have 30 days to completely vacate, or the sheriff's department will get involved. A strange, cold calm settled over me like armor. And if they refuse to leave, then they'll be arrested for criminal trespassing on private property. "Sarah, they have no legal right to be in that house." After hanging up, I drove slowly through downtown Portland to a small diner near the Willamette River. The morning mist began to lift, revealing glimpses of Mount Hood in the distance. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe freely. I ordered coffee and scrambled eggs, settling into a corner booth to wait for the show to start. The call came at exactly 10:47 a.m. Emma's name flashed across my phone like a fire alarm. "What the hell did you do to us?" she screamed before I could even say hello. I stirred cream into my coffee and took my time. "Good morning, Emma. How are you today? Don't you dare act innocent with me. Some lawyer just served us eviction papers. This is completely insane." "Is it insane?" I asked calmly. "Or is it just inconvenient for your plans? This is our home. We live here. Actually, no, you don't live there, and it's not your home. It belongs to a family trust, and you're trespassing without permission. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. You planned this whole thing, she whispered, and I could hear genuine fear creeping into her voice for the first time. I protected myself, I corrected firmly, something I should have done much sooner. But Brad's mom already moved all her furniture in. She has nowhere else to go. That sounds like a problem for you and Brad to solve in the next 30 days. Emma's voice cracked with desperation. Mom, please, we can work something out. You can move back in and take the guest room, and we'll live together like a real family. And what? I interrupted sharply. Live as a guest in my own home while you and Brad play house with his mother. Watch you three make decisions about my property without consulting me. I don't think so. The line went dead with a sharp click. Over the next 2 weeks, the phone calls kept coming. 6 months later, I was back in Portland but not in my old house. I sold the property through the trust and used the proceeds to buy a charming Victorian cottage in the Pearl District. It was smaller, yes, but perfect for someone who finally learned her own worth. Sometimes the people we love most teach us the hardest lessons about loving ourselves properly. If this story touched something in your heart, please like this video, subscribe for more real-life stories, and hit that notification bell. Thanks for listening, and always remember, you deserve to be treated with respect and love.